Good evening and welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. This is Series 1, Week 7, and it is finals night. If you're joining us for the very first time, here's Chris Murphy with an explanation of all the rules.
Introducing the MODUS Super Series, an exciting new weekly darts competition featuring top international players competing for more than £1 million in prize money. There is a new MODUS Super Series champion every 13 game weeks. The winner of MODUS Super Series 1 will be crowned on Saturday the 22nd of October 2022. So how does it work? 12 players compete every game week with live footage of every match broadcast 6 days per week on Sporty Stuff TV. Group matches take place Monday to Friday in morning and evening slots as players compete in a series of eliminators. The 6 qualifying players contest the finals every Saturday evening. Round-robin group matches are followed by semi-finals and the final, producing a new winner each week. Every 13th week, the winners from the previous 12 weeks contest the MODUS Super Series Champions Week. The winner takes home the MODUS Super Series title and earns a place on the honours board. After Champions Week, the action starts again for Week 1 of the next series.
Thank you, Chris. Absolutely crystal. Well, we've already had some wonderful darts this week already. Let's have a look at our best bits.
Lisa, you require 150.
Another. Double 15. That's incredible from Lisa Ashton.
Martin, you require 117.
Can't play, can he? Don't know, we could dress him up and put a wig on.
This could be game over here on this 117. It is game over on the 117. A 15-dart holder throw.
Graham, you require 156.
It's going to sell on Friday for the event between the 2nd and 3rd of September. as Graham Usher
the fifth
nails the double 18 for 156.
Justin, you require 170.
Keeps it coming down, keeps you in that 15 dart bracket.
Oh, button.
Game shot on the fifth leg.
Yes, Justin Smith.
David, you require
Bad vibes for
100.
David when that 141 was called. Good vibes. If game shot is called, it's tops.
Game shot on the
takes
first
it.
leg.
100
David
finish.
Pallett.
So, how did our 6 players reach tonight's final? Let's start with Group A. That got underway bright and early on Monday morning, played over Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, of course, and it was Lisa Ashton coming out on top, defeating Justin Smith in the penultimate match of the session late on Wednesday afternoon to guarantee her spot in tonight's final. Justin Smith and Graham Usher went into Group B, and Richardson, Tabern and Reed on bottom went into Group C. Well, Lisa caught up with Phil Bars a little earlier to reflect on her week here so far.
Lisa, here we are, the Group A winner. How did that feel to come here and win the group first time around?
Yeah, when I saw the group, every group is hard, but when I saw it, I thought, all right, and then, yeah, to actually get that win, fantastic.
Monday, played some really good stuff. Tuesday, a little bit up and down, and then found it again on Wednesday. It was a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, great first day, like you said, then down a bit, so I knew I had to pick back up a bit, and then come down to the last game against Justin, and then, yeah, finally get over the winning line.
Is that what you needed? It's a little bit of a confidence booster, because it's been a difficult little period for you.
Yeah, I've been up and down with my form, and then to come here and get some good practice, especially you can't have anything better than this, and yeah, to pick it up lift me, and I think that's what I needed.
You obviously played at our old venue in Southampton. When you were told that we were moving here, did you ever expect it was going to be like this?
Definitely not, no. Everybody says what it's going to be like. You always say, oh yeah, but as soon as you walked in and you saw it, it's absolutely fantastic. What they've done is brilliant, and I love it on that stage.
Thank you very much, Phil. Right, next up was Group C that got underway Thursday and Friday morning. And let's have a look how that played out. And it was Dan Reed showing some bounce-back ability. Bottom in Group A, top in Group C, and taking his place in the final with runner-up in this group, Martin Thomas. It was the end of the road for Wilkinson, Colley, Richardson and Tabern. Highlight of the week, though, Colley producing an average in excess of 110. So that's 3 of our 6 into tonight's final. On to our final group of the week, and that was Group B. And it was Graham Usher eventually topping the table. Justin Smith edged out on leg difference, and it was David Pallett taking our final spot in the final match of the session, edging out Nick Kenny by just 1 in leg difference. Right, as explained by Chris Murphy, the 6 players are split into 2 groups. We'll take a look at those now. Group 1 is Justin Smith, Lisa Ashton and Martin Thomas. Dan Reed, Dave Pallett and Graham Usher in Group 2. They will play each other once. It was 2 points for a win, best of 7, a race to 4, and leg difference will play its part. The top 2 from each group will make up our semi-finals a little bit later. Well, our commentary team of Matt Edgar and Henry Deacon are ready, and our referee and MC for the night, Owen Binks, is ready. Let's get the players out.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the MODUS Live Lounge for the MODUS Super Series. It's time to introduce the players. Would you firstly please welcome the Lancashire Rose, Lisa Ashton. And it's Tomo, Martin Thomas.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome along to Saturday night, which means it's finals night here at the MODUS Super Series. You have a live audience with us to see all the action as it unfolds. Lisa Ashton up against Martin Thomas will kick off the evening's entertainment. I'm Henry Deacon alongside Matthew Edgar in commentary for this opening game of the evening between the winner of Group A and the runner-up of Group C. And it's going to be an enthralling battle, and it'll be interesting to see how Lisa Ashton does following those couple of days off.
I think she's going to be alive for this one. I'm alive for this in the commentary box. I've been out there having a little sample, meeting a few people. We've had the Kirk Bevins playlist on, pumping through the 90s and the 80s mega mix.
You sure he does music that recent?
But this is a big wakener for people. This is going to be different as well. When we take a look at
Thank you,
the
ladies and
stage,
gentlemen.
one of the things I
First
noticed was it felt a little bit smaller in there.
Game on!
We went upstairs onto the balcony about half an hour before we went live on air, and I think we both said similar things, didn't we? It's gone from a room with no crowd in, which feels quite big, to a very small claustrophobic one, and it feels very almost circus tavern-like in there.
One thing for sure, it is an excellent arena. And if you are sat at home watching this, it is heavily recommended that you do come down one Saturday evening and join in the fun.
100.
You may even be able to get a selfie with Matthew Edgar, you know.
No better prize to be won there than...
96.
When we talk about the feelings, though, and the different things, another thing to make note of here is the players are used to coming out and getting a good sample of darts, 4 or 5 minutes. Well, with the walk-ons and with the difference here, that they're actually only going to get those 6 practice darts. It's going to be a little bit more structured.
And how much for a player like Lisa Ashton, who's won so much in the past on stage? Well, those players that have been there and done it on the biggest stage of them all have a distinct advantage tonight.
Massively.
121.
And I think what we're going to see is we're going to see maybe a couple of slow starters. Yes. I wonder what we're seeing a little bit here from Martin Thomas. Martin Thomas really impressed me this week. Really a standout performer.
42.
No surprise to see him go through that group.
95.
Some amazing stats in, especially in that 180 column. 17 180s.
Well, as for Lisa Ashton, it's been her efficiency on the doubles and those kind of combination finishes which saw her through. She topped Group A with 20 points. She beat Justin Smith in a shootout to win the group on Wednesday afternoon. That was their final game of the group, game 14 of the group on Wednesday.
40.
But here in the opening match of finals night, the Lancashire Rose wants tops for a holder throw. And there it is. Lisa Ashton wins the opening leg of the night. A round of applause. And that's something the players wouldn't have felt or seen or heard this week. They would have walked back to the table to complete and utter silence. But now they're going to have these ripples of applause. They're going to hear people whispering all sorts of things. The odd shouts here and there. They're going to have to adjust to completely different match conditions.
And I think the easiest way to summarise everything you have just said there is instant feedback. Instant feedback to a good shot. Instant feedback to an important miss. Instant feedback to 180. What you just said there, to winning a leg, to losing a leg. There is going to be an audio reaction that is unavoidable now.
100.
There's no escape on that stage. Nowhere to hide.
82.
We see everything on the cameras, of course, but when there's people there and there's eyes on you,
100.
the feeling must be completely different.
And these groups are different as well. We've only got 2 games.
60.
If you go off to a slow start in this one, you're going to get a bit of a problem with the legs tally. Leg difference could come into play. Quite often does on these finals nights.
1-4-2 to level us up. It's not going to happen on this occasion. Ashton will return for 1-4-1, and as Matt rightly mentions
80.
every single leg is
Leads
absolutely
require
crucial.
141.
We've seen it go down to leg difference a number of times. We'll explain how the groups are decided in a second, because Ashton was looking for treble 19. If she got it,
89.
would have had a dart at double 12 for 1-4-1 finish. But as we have it, Martin Thomas to hold throw, wants 62, should get a dart at double top to level us up.
Game
And
shot
level
the
us up, he
second
does.
leg.
And we are level at one
Martin
apiece. 2 holes of throw thus far. And it's Lisa Ashton who has the honours in the third. Can she keep the streak of holes in this opening game up?
Game on.
We mentioned how the groups will be decided. So the first thing will be points. Points won.
140.
To get your points, you've got to be winning the games. After that, it will be decided through leg difference. If leg difference can't split it, it will be legs won. And if we still can't decide who's
58.
going through, there will be a 9-dart shootout. What that means is both players will be returning to the stage, and whoever scores the most in 9
100.
darts goes through. Brutal.
Imagine that in front of a crowd.
I want to see it. Don't think I'd want to play it, but I certainly would like to
97.
watch one.
And then further on, as the night goes on, there'll be 2 semi-finals. The victors will go through to the final. Only the winner
44.
of Week 7 will progress through to Champions Week, which takes place in the mid to end of October. So unlike the previous incarnations of this competition, where
100.
we'd have a third, fourth place playoff and the top 3 would go through to a Champions Week at the end of Week 5, we play a 12-week cycle before a determining Champions Week, which is
93.
what it says on the tin. It is Ronsil. Only the champions will go through to that specific week.
Champions Week, where champions will play.
124.
Unlike things such as the Champions League, where finishing 4th might be enough if you're Tottenham.
Phil
80.
Bars is running along the corridor as we speak. Lisa Ashton will be hoping that she's running her way into a 2-1 lead, leaving 44 after 15. That's unlucky with the
140.
last dart for Martin Thomas.
Least you require
And so the
44.
Lancashire Rose will return for 44. Double 16.
Game shot on the third leg.
And it is a third consecutive
Lisa
hold of
Ashton.
throw. And that will do as far as Lisa Ashton is concerned. Opens up a 2-1 lead. For Martin Thomas, he's
Well,
going to
then
have
it's
to find a
Martin to
break
throw
somewhere.
first.
And so far, Lisa's had it quite comfortable on throw.
60.
Lisa Ashton has defied the bookies this week. She was the biggest outsider to win Group A and ended up winning it by 4 points.
100.
She is the biggest outsider to lift the title this week. And she's already on her way to defying them,
45.
halfway to her first points. Winning this first game really does set it up well, because she could actually then qualify without even needing to win her last game.
30.
Lisa Ashton wins this game, she will be watching the Martin Thomas-Justin Smith one with a Justin Smith shirt on, because if Justin Smith was to beat Martin Thomas, Lisa would go through on the back of this one win.
60.
That is how this group stage shapes up. There will be potentially some mathematical equations, but also,
92.
if you get off to a good start, you can do the job you need to do quite early. Martin Thomas has a job to do in this specific match, and that is going to help
180.
dramatically. It's our first max of the evening. The maximum card, wave in the air, hoisted aloft.
99.
Despite the fact Graham Usher has hit the most 180s, he's hit 26. He has been here for 5 days. Martin Thomas only been here for 2 and has already put in 17 180s this week. If we
85.
include that one as well, that is 18. When we put that across the amount of legs he's now played 59 legs for the week. That is a very impressive return in the 180 column.
Martin, you require 71.
We get a very good sample size with the players, which we'll speak about in the next leg, as both players are on a finish. Martin Thomas are looking for 71 here to level us up at 2 apiece. But he's missed the big number. He was looking for 65.
21.
15 would have left
Lisa
him a dart at the
80.
bullseye. He went for the treble to leave double 10. Doesn't go. Lisa Ashton back for 80. 15 scored, so 65 left. which would have been ironic if Lisa Ashton could have taken out the equation that Martin Thomas missed on the big number. And because of that, he's only going to get 2 here, a double top, and now double 10.
40.
And how crucial will that be? Lisa returns to a breaker throw.
Double 10 will be the target, and double 10 is the hit. Lisa Ashton gets an important breaker throw. She takes the 3-1 lead, and we said leg difference could really come into this one. She can hold a throw here. A 4-1 win to kick off the night would be absolute dreamland for Lisa Ashton. Managed to have a little walk round earlier and speak to a few people. I bumped into a young lad from the Portsmouth Darts Academy called Mackenzie, and I actually asked him who was going to win tonight. He told me Lisa Ashton was going to win it. He said if it's not Lisa Ashton, it's going to be Graham Usher. They're both actually in different groups. So if that's the final tonight,
100.
we're all going to be finding Mackenzie for tips in the future.
Indeed we will. It's great to have them in this evening.
95.
It's great for the next generation of darters to come in and see their heroes live. And watch the action live. And you just never know. Somewhere here we could see the next superstar. And you want to keep inspiring this next generation to keep spreading the word.
100.
Because you never know what this experience could do for someone. It could be that inspiration for someone.
100.
You can experience it yourself absolutely free. Just need to go online, register your interest, and tickets are available every Saturday night to come watch the finals.
140.
And so Lisa Ashton wants 76 to win the opening game of the night. 2 darts at double 8, now double 4.
72.
Goes inside, and so Martin Thomas will return for 86. This is for a breaker throw into half the deficit. It's going to stay there. And that's the 2nd consecutive leg that Martin Thomas has missed a big number, which would have given him a dart at the bullseye. And so Ashton will return for the double 2, for the victory, and the opening rubber of the night. Lisa Ashton is a 4-1 victor over Martin Thomas. She is the first winner on finals night here at the Super Series with an average of 86.5. 4 out of 10 on the checkout and a high out of 44. Lisa Ashton's our first victor of the night. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we're going to see Graham Usher in action against David Pallett.
Good evening and welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. This is finals night, 1 match down, 9 more to bring you. Lisa Ashton making the ideal start, defeating Martin Thomas of 4-1. And let's have a look at the stats. Lisa Ashton, 86.58, 81.64 for Martin Thomas. A few too many missed big numbers in that one. 40% on the doubles and 3-1 in the 140 column to Lisa Ashton. And it was Martin Thomas with the only 180 of the match. Up next, it is Graham Usher against David Pallett. These two met twice in Group B, with Graham Usher winning both those meetings convincingly 4-1 and 4-2. Right, I think our players are almost ready. I'll hand over to our commentary team of Matt and Henry, and over to our referee and MC, Owen Binks.
MODUS Live Lounge for the MODUS Super Series. It's time to introduce the players for the second game. Please welcome the gambler, Graham Usher, and David Pallett.
As the Prodigy's fire starter rings out in the auditorium, who can kickstart their campaign in Group 2 with victory as Graham Usher takes on David Pallett in our second game of the evening. These two are well acquainted with each other this week. They battled it out in Group B. It was Graham Usher that was the victor in that group, whilst David Pallett qualified with the skin of his teeth. He had to win, in effect, a deciding leg to progress through the group against Jared Cole. He had to win 4-2 or better. He did exactly that, deposing of Nick Kenny from tonight's field. And so what can the 32-year-old from Newport do now in finals night here at the MODUS Super Series?
I think the impressive thing about that was when Pallett was asked a serious question, he found his best darts. And when he finds his best darts, he can do some scary things. UK Open semi-finalist back in 2018.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First leg, it's Graham to throw
first. Won a few titles recently, a Challenge Tour title, and also the England Open.
Which, crucially, was won on a stage in front of a crowd.
You wouldn't have thought when you first watched David Pallett there, coming up, going out of sync and just going to get straight on with the action. No surprise he wants to get straight on with the action when your first 3 darts of the match are 180.
100.
Very much has been a kryptonite to David Pallett this week. He said he's got those 2 victories against him. 4-1 and 4-2 those victories, but Graham Usher seems to find an extra gear when he plays David Pallett. 101.88. So an extra gear. They've both found an extra gear. 2 180s already in the opening leg. 95.73 the other average. So I've said it a few times. Sometimes you just get players that you feel good against. This is incredible start to the game. 2 180s David Pallett, 1 180 Graham Usher. He is down to just 41 after 9 darts. And crucially, this could be a break of throw.
This could well be as close to the most perfect start as you could get.
9.
But 2 darts at double 16 come and go. And despite all the scoring power from David Pallett, Graham Usher, with a max of his own in this leg, will get a dart at tops. And will get it for a hold of throw for a 15-dart leg. He's the king of the 15, is Graham Usher. That consistency is why he's into tonight's finals. Throughout the course of Group B, he had an average of 93.8. And no wonder he is amongst this finals field with such consistency.
One straight in the solar plexus there of David Pallett. 2 180s, but missed 2 darts at the double. Missed the opportunity to get the breaker throw.
Now, interestingly, after one leg, we are one off the most total 180s in a game this week. That was 4 in the clash between Justin Smith and James Richardson in Group A.
Expect this one's going to get a lot of legs to it. I can't see one player running away with this. The stats suggest it's going to be a close battle. Maybe Pallett on for the 11-darter. We've actually seen a 10-darter this week. That's the best. It was by Reece Colley 3 times. He got a 10-darter. He had a really good week. He was impressive. 110 the average against Alan Taban.
140.
No doubt somewhere along the line, if not this phase, next phase, we will definitely see Reece Colley and getting better and better as time goes on. Here, Graham Usher, after 9 darts, leads himself on 86. This would be
86.
for potential breaker throw.
Game shown.
And that is superb from Graham Usher. The 86 out on the bullseye opens up a 2-0 lead. And this has been a scintillating game. Played excellently from both players. Graham Usher with an average of 111.33. David Pallett 107.6. And when the crowd was brought in tonight, when they entered the venue, this was what they wanted to see.
Don't think this is what Dave Pallett wanted to see.
70.
Certainly not from Graham Usher. You're coming here thinking 104 average, he's going to be sitting pretty. But he's actually facing
85.
a 3-0 deficit here if Graham Usher can hold his throw.
And we're seeing Graham Usher get these big averages here at the Super Series. When you look at the 105 plus stats in terms of match averages, he is in that list a fair bit.
100.
His highest is 111.2. That was against Dan Reed in Phase 4 of 2022. Dan Reed, who is the other player in this group. He kicks off his campaign in Game 4 tonight against David Pallett before taking on Usher in the last group game of this evening.
85.
You think David Pallett, despite playing good darts here, might be a little bit desperate when that game comes around. Because Graham Usher is not slowing down. He leaves 91 after 12 darts.
98.
Choices here.
Grammy required 91.
He go aggressive on the 17s. That's exactly what he does. Leaves himself 74. Goes for the 14s to leave.
51. David
16s. He'll be happy enough with leaving tops after 15. Gives Pallett lots to do on 135. That's a lovely marker. Comes low. I would love to have seen a shot at that if that treble 20 would have gone in. Tops for Graham Usher for 3-0.
Game shot on the
Not the way he planned it. It's a double-double though for Graham Usher. Double 6, double 4. It's 3-0. And David Pallett, despite a 99 average, he's in a bit of bother here.
Indeed, and in this format, it's not just about winning and losing, it's about the margins of winning and losing as well.
140.
If Graham Usher can get a break in this leg and make it 4-0, Pallett's going to probably be staring in the face, or potentially be staring in the face, a situation akin to what he was in last night, where he may have to win by a certain scoreline or better to progress his way through the group. But in this leg, with the darts, he's had to move across there following the lie of the second dart.
100.
He's come out all guns blazing.
60.
Quality and class from both players here. David Pallett digging deep. Quite easy to roll over when you're playing well and just say, why me? It's one of those games.
140.
He did this quite a lot yesterday, that 1-2-1 after 9, 140, ton 140 for Pallett.
128.
Gives himself an opportunity to get his first chalk on the board for the evening.
And he's going to get an opportunity, and he's going to get some breathing space. He's got 6 darts at it, so he didn't have to go for the bullseye there.
81.
These tops after 12. It's a guide that you're in the groove
80.
if you can leave that on a consistent basis.
Require 40.
averaging 103, and this is for his first leg of the match. Double 10 is a friend to David Pallett. It has been throughout the course of the week. The statistics say so, and it keeps him in the game here. But Graham Usher has the throw in leg 5 to see the 4-1 win.
He said the statistics stay so. They sure do. I had a little look through our packs earlier on this evening, and I was looking at where David Pallett might be going. Double 20. He's had 16 darts at that, hitting 5. But that double 10. 11 darts at it this week so far, hitting it 8 times. A 72% record, and that does not include tonight's 1 of 1.
And the thing is, with David, if he can stick to this average, he's got a hope that somewhere Graham plateaus. And if he does, and he can keep throwing like that, he's got more than a fighter's chance in this game.
60.
This would be for a breaker throw. He's got 100 points already in the scoring phase. So essentially, has broke the throw in this front 9. We saw this a lot from him yesterday, switching over to the 18s and successfully doing so.
86.
The maths wasn't in his favour there, but you saw him just have a glance at the scoreboard, probably looking at how far Graham Usher was away and thinking, it's not really going to affect it too much. I'm going to stay on this treble 18 where I can hit it with ease this week.
98.
I had a chat with David earlier on this evening about the switch to treble 18, and he just said that it feels more natural for him because it's the same region of the ball. He doesn't have to go back and recalculate by going down to treble 19 and readjust his throwing action. It feels smoother, it feels more natural, and the dart at top should feel natural for any darts player, but that one drags low.
I mentioned those stats on double 10.
9.
He is more likely to hit than not.
20.
And he's more likely to hit with the first 2 darts. And 2 darts is exactly what it takes. The statistics come through on the board. It's a breaker throw for David Pallett. He is back in this one, but the game and the story of the game can easily be seen right now in the averages. Graham Usher's averages crashed. He has come down to an 84 average. David Pallett stayed the same. So David Pallett hasn't gone up a gear. He's just staying at that really high level. Graham Usher has come completely off the pace, and his average continues to plummet into the 83s.
Now, I'm not a professor, but the plateau theorem is coming into practice. And of course, with a crowd in this evening, you can join the darting fun next week. Tickets are available. They're free of charge. You can join the darty party. Head over to dartshop.tv for more information on that. And you can join us here in Portsmouth for next week's thrilling finals. And of course, over the course of the night, we will tell you the groups for next week, week 8. We'll drip feed that into you as the evening goes on.
92.
We'll do that over the next couple of games. Because if Graham Usher can get a spurt on here, he can finish this one off. But it is advantage Pallett with the throw. And when it looked as if he was out of it at 3-0 down, we mentioned the plateau theory. That's what's happened. It's come into effect. And if it does go 3-3,
57.
You have a new favourite for the match.
I know you cover a bit of football yourself, Henry. We'll say football's a game of 2 halves, but this is completely a game of 2 halves. Graham Usher, absolutely brilliant in the opening half of this game and been reeled in by David Pallett.
92.
No finish here from Graham Usher. Didn't quite work the maths out very well in that last one. Offers
85.
David Pallett a return to the board at 94. 94 points for a level game. Always going to go and try and leave that tops and tens combo. But despite stumbling towards the line, he could cross the line if he takes out this 78 finish, which he does in 2 darts. He was stumbling, but he got there in the end. Graham Usher, a 78 finish in 2 darts. He looked like he was going to run away with that game at one point, but ends up with an 84.88 average. The game started off incredible. 4 maximums in that game, 3 for David Pallett, 1 for Graham Usher. But it's Graham Usher that starts the night with 2 points.
Graham Usher out the box like Usain Bolt there, and David Pallett nearly reeled him in down the back straight, but it is Usher who takes the win, full 2 in his opening match of Group 2. Have a look at the stats. They did tumble for Usher. A good performance from Pallett, but left himself too much to do from 3-0 down. So a winning start and 2 points on the board for Graham Usher. Up next, it is Martin Thomas against Justin Smith. And a win here, of course, for Justin Smith will put himself through and Lisa Ashton. So it's a must-win game for Martin Thomas. Our comms team are Matthew Edgar and Henry Deacon. And let's hand over to our referee and MC, Owen Binks. So much better.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the MODUS Live Lounge for the MODUS Super Series. Would you please welcome to the stage, firstly, it's Tomo, Martin Thomas, and the bearded dragon, Justin Smith.
It's an all-Welsh battle on the South Coast, and it is must-win for Martin Thomas. If he's going to progress, he's going to have to beat Justin Smith. If Smith wins, both him and Lisa Ashton progress through, as Chris Mason said, to the semi-finals. Group 1, the scenarios in that would be completed right at the earliest possible opportunity. Matthew Edgar alongside me for this one. Justin Smith has been one of the more consistent players over the course of the last 6 days.
Absolutely, and he's got a dream position here. Because he's got it in his hands, and he's got it in his hands twice. Got an opportunity here to beat Martin Thomas. If he doesn't win that, he can come back later on for a match with Lisa Ashton. So a dream opportunity here for Justin Smith. It's not all or nothing. Martin Thomas, it is. You sort of feel Martin Thomas, if he is going to win, he needs to win big. He took a 4-1 defeat to Lisa Ashton. We've seen how legs can really play its part on Saturday night.
Game on!
We've seen that in previous groups. Group B. Last night we had 10 matches and we still came down to the final leg. So just a couple of games.
Hey,
the difference will be big.
Anything is possible in this finals night scenario, as Justin Smith kicks off with a ton. Having a look at the odds before play got underway for the players to win tonight.
43.
Lisa Ashton came in as the outsider at 15-2. Justin Smith at 9-2, I thought represented a little bit of value. Martin Thomas started the night as second favourite with behind David Pallett at 4-1. So Martin Thomas, who would effectively be the favourite to have got through this group because of his proceedings and placings with the bookmakers, has to win to stay in.
100.
I think one of the big features of Justin Smith this week has been that scoring power. Been getting a lot of 140s. And that dart just sits up nicely in the treble. Tends to follow it in. Started this one quite nicely.
55. Martin, you've got 154.
Settler kicking off with 3 straight tons. Oh, Thomas already had his Settler, been on the stage once already.
54.
It wasn't a positive experience.
46.
And of course, we mentioned in the format here, the Super Series, that
Martin,
one defeat can do all sorts of things. I think with a crowd, it can emphasise that. But Martin Thomas looking to respond on tops. Double 10.
90.
And Justin Smith's going to return for double 18 for a breaker throw in the opening leg. Across to double 14. Down for double 7. 29. He's been on a magical mystery tour the entirety of the dartboard. And he's come up dry. And Martin Thomas is going to return for this double 5. A visit perhaps he didn't expect to happen.
No score.
The second dart was a blocker. He had to drift over to the right. It was too far over to the right in the end. And Justin Smith returns for 7. That's not a gimme at all.
Got to come right the way across.
3.
And it comes out.
Martin, you require 10.
That looked in. Martin Thomas is in. First start in hand.
Thomas.
He can breathe a big sigh of relief. Justin Smith should have had a breaker throw there.
Second against Justin to throw first.
Come out. And for the score to register, he needs to retrieve the darts.
134.
Well, the way that Justin Smith's darts stand up, doubles at the bottom end of the board are never usually helpful. And that may have cursed him at the start of this match. But maybe not analyse that visit for his leg. It was the visit before which put him in that perilous position to start with, where he was on double 18, hit the double 4, went inside on the double 14, and then on the double 7.
100.
A bit nervy for Justin Smith. He's missed a lot of big numbers this week. Yeah, to start that with the 3-2-2, you could see him thinking and pondering before that shot. Working out the options. 3's a nice safe one, straight down that vertical line.
45. Justin, you require 170.
Same line as the 20 and the ball. The 20 obviously where he's throwing all the time. He has took this 170 out already this week. Highest checkout of the week so far. Only Justin Smith taking that one.
Indeed. Well, he's going to get a go at the 72 to get the hole back and to level us up.
95. Justin, you require 72.
And he can have as much time as he wants. Thomas back at 176.
60.
But that is now 0 from 7 for Justin Smith on the outer ring. The doublings are causing all sorts of concerns in the early stages of this game.
60. Justin, you require 12. Game shot on the second
But
leg.
no issues this time, and Justin Smith gets himself level at 1 apiece against Martin Thomas. It's a huge game for Thomas. He needs to win to keep his hopes of progressing alive. If Justin Smith wins, he'll go through by just playing 1 game. Him and Ashton will both be on 2, and they can have a victory lap in game 5.
Just looking at the body language there, Martin Thomas, after losing that one, he was just stood at the back of the stage, the shoulders were back, the chest was puffed out. Looked like a guy who was about to go fix the problems, and then goes and hits a 140 with his first visit of the leg.
83.
The darts are starting to group better for Martin Thomas. Sometimes you don't get the instant reward of the 180s, 140s, but
60.
you get to see signs that it's coming together, and we're starting to see those signs here from Martin Thomas. Dart line just underneath the way he likes it, and just sits them on top.
100.
Case in point.
A bit like a test match cricketer in terms of technique, when you may be getting out cheaply to poor shots and things like that, and you're getting low scores consistently. You go back into the nets and you're working your game, and sometimes maybe you get dismissed for a 12 or something like that.
60.
But actually, in terms of rhythm and the way you played, you're much better than perhaps when you hit that 15 score, but you've been playing badly and getting yourself out on those occasions. But he may have fixed the problem, and he may be able to hopefully get 118 and out. Tops.
And
he's batted that out the park. And he's halfway towards a pivotal victory. A victory he needs to keep himself in the hunt for a place in the semi-finals.
This is Justin Smith's
70.
First game of the evening. So the first time we've got a chance to look at him, he will be playing again. And he will have the throw against Lisa Ashton. Lisa Ashton's on 2 points in this group. We have 4-1 victory over Martin Thomas. So Martin Thomas isn't just thinking win, he's thinking win big. And if he can get the breaker throw here,
97.
75% the way getting that big result he needs.
That 118 for Martin Thomas is one better than his highest finish of the week, which was a 117. That's his third ton plus out of the week. Started in Group C on Thursday and Friday morning. He came second to Dan Reed, who we're going to see for the first time in our next match against David Pallett. And for Smith here, it's been a fairly comfortable leg on throw thus far, but I was going to say, if he came to the World Dry, then Martin Thomas could present a whole host of issues, but he's himself on 119 after 12. Thomas still isn't out of it with a couple of trebles. And that's a nice lie for him.
130.
The way the darts stack low, it gives him the opportunity to put in another.
59.
No one likes a 190
Martin,
finish. Justin Smith won't like it there. Said, I got the vibes that Martin Thomas was warming to the task. Got an opportunity to break the throw here. And that is a great 76 finish there from Martin Thomas. He took out the 118 in the last leg. Is a 14 dart. Break a throw there for Martin Thomas, following in that 15 dart hold.
Martin to throw first.
Said he's warming to the task. He certainly is. The average is rising now. It's up into the mid-80s. The way this is going, that is plenty to get him over the line. Just needs to hold a throw, and he avenges that 4-1 defeat he took earlier on to Lisa Ashton. Most crucially, he'll have some points on the board. And he'll force Justin Smith into action against Lisa Ashton.
Indeed it would, and if it was to be a 4-1 victory, it'd wipe out the 3 legs he lost against Lisa Ashton on the legs difference. It'd put him back to 0, put Smith on -3. Ashton would be on
60.
+3. So, if that was the case, a 4-1 victory for Justin Smith would leave us with a 9-dart shootout.
The exact
85.
same equation. Loads of ifs. 271 points needs to go for that to begin being the equation for Martin Thomas.
100.
Good last. Justin Smith needs something here. Needs to find some of those 140s that he's been hitting all week.
100.
Good dart. Finds another treble now.
130.
He is a long way to the finishing line. Just 40 points away from getting himself back in the mixer.
44. Martin, you require 40.
Tops for the match for Martin Thomas. Double 10.
30.
But 3 match darts come and go.
102.
And Justin Smith returns to a 102 to get a break back. He's going to have to break 2 times in this game.
82.
And he can't get the first of them at this juncture. And so Thomas returns for that double 5 for a 4-1 victory to keep his race alive.
He takes his time, he stood back, stepped forward and delivers. First start in hand there for Martin Thomas. He avenges the 4-1 defeat to Lisa Ashton, gets a 4-1 victory of his own. Really started to warm to the task as that one came in. He got stronger as the game went on. An 84.32 average doesn't tell the full story in that. An amazing 118 finish, timed to perfection. But Martin Thomas is back in this group with 2 points.
Well, Martin Thomas has got himself right back in this group. A real reversal of fortunes. Lost 4-1 to Ashton. Beats Justin Smith, his fellow Welshman, 4-1 with a real battling performance. Let's have a quick look at the stats. 84-32 for Thomas, 82-35. It all started to go wrong in that opening leg for Justin Smith when he missed his big numbers and found the single 3 and missed double 2. Combs suggested it was in and out. Combs also let us know that if Justin Smith beats Ashton 4-1, we could well have our very first 9-dart shootout. Right, up next it is David Pallett and our first look at Dan Reid. It's their first meeting in the MODUS Super Series. They've met twice this year on the Challenge Tour, and it's 1 win apiece. Our comms team of Matt Edgar and Henry Deacon are ready. Over to our referee and MC, Owen Binks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the MODUS Live Lounge for the MODUS Super Series. It's time to introduce the players. Firstly, would you please welcome David Pallett. And it's Dan the Man Reid.
And so David Pallett takes on Dan Reid here in our 4th game of the evening here. It's the 2nd game of Group 2. And Matthew Edgar alongside myself, Henry Deacon, here on commentary. We're enjoying the darts. We're also enjoying what the DJ is serving up for us as well this evening.
Yeah, big shout out to the DJ. Hope they don't turn the camera on in the comms box when the music's on. You'll get some really good dad dancing.
Let's just say that I'll be exchanging numbers at the end of the night and we'll be getting some DJing for one of my dues, I think.
This is the first opportunity we've got to see Dan Reid this evening, but we've seen him all week. Let's finish bottom in Group A and then bounce back extremely well, winning Group C.
Hey, first, it's David to throw
the
first.
big standouts really for Dan Reid was those outshots. 10+ finishes.
$56.
It is must-win time for David Pallett. We have seen David Pallett already this evening. He lost 4-2 to Graham Usher. A really good performance from David Pallett. Ended on a 94 average. Hit the ground running 2 180s in the opening leg.
140.
Now, we were looking at the situation in Group 1, weren't we, with the potential of a 9-dart shootout. Of course, it's still a potential here in Group 2 as well. If Dan Reid wins 4-2... Sorry, if David Pallett wins 4-2 in this game and Dan Reid wins 4-2 against Graham Usher, there'll be a conceivable 9-dart shootout there.
I think before you start
85.
giving the possible outcomes from Group 1, I think we need to let you know that you probably want to go get a pen and paper or turn the notes on your phone before Henry reads this load out to you.
92.
We'll give you Group A of Week 8 here in the 2nd leg. So get yourself a pen and paper. We will jot down those names for you because David Pallett's going to return
59.
for 85 after 12 for an opening leg holder throw. He's going to get 6 darts at it. Treble 19. He gets a double 14. And I think that's a nice marker for him.
79.
And it just strays the other side of the wire into the double 11. It leaves him on double 3 upon his return. And suddenly this has got awkward. And suddenly Dan Reid is an interested party in this leg. Leaves himself on 54. And Pallett is back on double 3. Pick a side.
No score.
And he's gone the other way.
Dan, it requires
And Dan
54.
Reed has forced the issue of David Pallett here.
Said Dan Reed was an interested party. Graham Usher will be an interested party as well.
34.
Dan Reed would have took that.
David,
Would have been a big breaker throw. Would have put Graham Usher through. So he's on straight for it. It's carbon copy of the last one. Like the third dart that he threw in frustration going in the double. Gone pretty much in the same hole, but this time it counts. David Pallett takes out the double three, takes a 1-0 lead. There's a holder throw for David Pallett.
And so, as promised, Group A, which features
55.
2 former World Championship finalists. We have major champions amongst this field as well. So Group A, which we'll see here Monday morning from 9:30, we'll see the 2018 World Masters champ, Adam Smith-Neill, Andy Hamilton, 2012 World Championship finalist, Conor Heenahan, who was runner-up at our Champion of Champions special event earlier on this year. Former world finalist and players champion Kevin Painter joins the field. Dutchman Moreno Bloom will make a debut here at the Super Series. And Steve Brown will also be a part of the Darty party.
121.
In Group B, Conan Whitehead, Johnny Haynes and Ryan Finesse will be joined by the 2nd and 3rd place players in that Group A. Whilst in Group C, a debut for Lee Shewan, a player who's really been up and coming over the last 12 months or so. Liam Meek and Scott Walters will be joined by the 4th, 5th and 6th place players from Group A.
92.
That is your full lineup for next week. Take your pick out of that one. Take your pick out of this one. Sort of 6 or 9 inspired darts is probably what it's going to take to really put a bit of a gap between the two players here. Neither player getting many of the big scores, quite a few trebleless visits creeping in for both players.
How much of a distinct advantage is it, the fact that David's had a game on that stage? I guess especially against Dan, who may not have experienced this type of atmosphere with an audience in before.
I think the key fact is that last bit that you just said there. Dan has very, very limited experience in front of a crowd. Sort of peaked during the COVID days. Once the ball. So he took out the most tumpless finishes of anyone in the field so far this week. That's a good dart at the bullseye. Another one of them would have left him double 16.
92.
Instead tees up that tops and tens combo once again. But Dan Reed to level us up.
Game show on the 2nd leg.
And we've spoken all week about that 5 double 10 combination for Dan Reed, and it comes up trumps for him again. He has got friends and family with him in the crowd this evening, and they would have warred on the approval of that combination. He levels up at 1 apiece. It's a game that's yet to catch fire as of yet.
52.
But again, we see the Pallett switch.
Just looking over to the possibilities of Group 1, and I'm just picturing a couple hundred people sat at home with pen and paper waiting for Henry to run through the leg options. And do you want to give them the equations?
140.
So in Group 1, Justin Smith with a 4-0 victory will qualify, and he would qualify top of the group with Lisa Ashton 2nd. If Ashton wins by any margin, she tops the group, and Martin Thomas will join her in the semi-finals in 2nd place. A Justin Smith win, either 4-2 or 4-3, would see Ashton top of the group and Martin Thomas 2nd. If Justin Smith wins by 4 legs to 1, for the very first time here at the Super Series, we would get a 9-dart shootout.
It'd be so fitting after the darts we've seen this week.
56.
David Pallett going through by a leg. that shootout with Justin Smith and Lisa Ashton for Group A. Graham Usher and James Richardson shooting out for a place in Group B. Been a week of shootouts. Been a very closely matched week. Just a bit of timing is going to be the only difference between the players.
180.
A maximum for David Pallett leaves him on 8-8. But can Dan the Man get his 12th ton plus finish of the week? Not on this occasion. That's more than any other player in the field. He's had 11 of them so far over the course of the last 6 days or so. So Pallett returns for the 8-8, gets the 8-8, and he leads by 2 legs to 1. Halfway towards victory. And if the scoreline's doubled and Pallett won 4-2, things would get interesting in Group 2 as well. A victory of any description for Pallett would make it interesting, but the 4-2 would tease us with another potential 9-dart eliminator. It's got to happen at some point here, hasn't it?
100.
It's never going to be a week. This week could be the week. See how closely matched people are. That is all the way through in the league tables, in the stats. It's very hard to split people.
95.
Even the head-to-heads, there's not much indication that games are going one way or the other. It's purely coming down to timing. Timing like in that last leg, David Pallett, 180 to leave himself on that 8-8.
128.
Just as Dan Reed was starting to tee us up with the thought of a break, Pallett hits that turbo button.
41.
Dan Reed may have given his throwaway here in this leg if Pallett can pile in a couple of trebles. And I thought on this occasion, potentially he may have moved
58.
across to the 18s.
The 19s is a shot here for Dan Reed. Slipped into the treble 3, but 5 19s there would have left him in the 170. He'd have got 2 trebles. Even the 7 19s, that would have left him in the 132. And from 265 19s the way to go.
100.
Doesn't want to bust this one. Be the worst time of the night to get his first maximum.
85.
You sense both players know the magnitude of this leg, which is why at times it's been a little bit edgy. 115 for Pallett after 12. Heads upstairs. He's going to get 1 dart at 18. He loves this part of the board.
79.
But there was just a little bit of hesitation before that last dart was thrown. And Dan Reed returns for 95. Goes the bullseye route, which guarantees him 1 at the bull.
70.
But I wonder the way the first dart went in, how much of the target he could see as Pallett returns for 18.
This would be for a breaker throw. It is a breaker throw for David Pallett. He went down 4-2 in his opening game to Graham Usher. But he is well on his way to fixing this, just like we saw from Martin Thomas. Losing his first game, then coming back with a victory. David Pallett well on his way to that. That breaker throw means he is now throwing first for the match. And he kicks it off with a 180. We said timing will be the thing that wins you this. He hit that 180 to lead the 8-8. And then he kicks off with throw.
97.
A massive 180 for David Pallett.
You sense it's a game where one player just needed to kick on. David Pallett is doing that. He's kicking on in this particular leg. 5 perfect darts, sees him on 181, following his first 2 visits. And you thought when that 5th perfect dart went in, maybe, potentially, the magical 9-dart leg was going to be upon us. We've seen it 3 times here this year in this particular competition. Graham Usher has done it in the Champion of Champions event.
60.
David Pallett here after 9 darts. Wants 102. 10. Single 2 for tops.
82.
He will come back for his favourite double 10 upon his return. Dan Reed all the way back on 284. And this is to secure the match, to secure a victory and put him in a nice enough position to qualify through the group. But how about that for a response from Dan Reed? Putting pressure on the double 10, which is for the match, for David Pallett. And his favourite double doesn't let him down at this juncture. And David Pallett secures a 4-1 victory. He's now on to 2 points. Dan Reed will have to beat Graham Usher in the final match of the night. It's a victory that puts David Pallett through. So congratulations to him. The mathematics add up for his qualification. After the break, we're going to see the thrilling conclusion to Group 1. It's Justin Smith against Lisa Ashton, and all outcomes are possible.
This is good evening and welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. This is finals night and David Pallett getting a win there. Takes his place in tonight's semi-finals despite going down in his opening match to Graham Usher by 4 legs to 2. Let's have a look at the stats. And 87 average exactly for David Pallett. 4 out of 13 on the doubles, 3 140s and 2 180s were more than enough. So a lot of work for Dan Reed to do in his next match, which will be the final match of the group session. Well, back to Group 1 for our final match of Group 1, and it is Lisa Ashton against Justin Smith. A 4-1 win for Justin Smith takes us to a shootout. We nearly had more shootouts than a night out with the Craze tonight, but David Pallett made sure we're not going to get 2 this evening. 3 meetings this week between the 2 in Group A, and Lisa has won all 3. Back over to our comms team of Matt Edgar and Henry Deacon, but first of all to our referee and MC, Owen Binks.
Thank you, Chris. So, I hope you've got a pen and paper at the ready. I hope you've ordered a calculator, because every single possible and conceivable scenario is on the line here. Let's run you through all the possibilities, and there is a fair few of them here in Group 1 tonight. The simplest is this: if Lisa Ashton wins, she goes through top of the group. Martin Thomas will be there as well. If Justin Smith wins 4-0, he will go through top of the group. Lisa Ashton second. A 4-2 or 4-3 victory for Justin Smith will see Ashton go through top and Thomas through second. A win for Justin Smith by 4-1. We've got a 9-dart shootout.
My head hurts after all that.
40.
I think the interesting fact was the one that May said there as this was coming on, that Lisa Ashton has got those 3 wins against Justin Smith this week. And actually, when you look at those, Justin Smith's performance often dips against Lisa Ashton. I'm just looking at his averages in those games. The average
46.
Low 80, 80.22, 80.87 and 82.24. That is significantly lower than his 86 for the week, and it does put him into another bracket of darts. His week stats suggesting he's between 15 to 18 darts to win a leg, but when he plays Lisa Ashton,
140.
he's at 18 to 21 bracket, so he needs an extra visit when he plays Lisa, according to the stats.
The stats look academic, though, in this opening leg. He's come out the tracks flying. Leaving 105 after 12. Ashton back on 275.
60.
And remember, for Justin Smith, he has to win big. Only 4-0 automatically secures his place into the semi-finals. And so if he can chalk the first couple of legs on the board as quickly as possible, it will give him all sorts of hope.
58.
Double 18 after 15. For the first of those 4 legs he needs. Splits for double 8. He's been doing this all week, and it's been an MO that's been effective for Justin Smith all week. He is 1-0 up against Lisa Ashton. Ashton with the darts here in the second.
Lisa to throw first.
If Lisa wins this leg, Justin cannot automatically qualify. His best hopes would be courtesy of the aforementioned shootout.
This is where I wish we had a camera in the practice room. It'd be nice to have seen what was going on. Was Lisa sat with the abacus and the pen and paper working this out herself, or just going about her own business?
60.
In snooker, there's a phrase called Shredsville. I'd imagine that's where Martin Thomas may be in a minute. Sitting and waiting and finding out what his fate is. He cannot control anything else in this group. It's only these 2 that can decide the destiny of Group 1 tonight.
Martin Thomas already played his part. Bounced back well with that 4-1 victory over Justin Smith last time out. Impressed with how he picked it up in the middle part of that game.
140.
Lisa Ashton has those big darts, but she's managed to get 8 180s in Group A across the 15 matches, so that's
41.
Around about 1 in 2. Don't be deterred by those big barrels thinking she can't fill it up. She's filled it 8 times already. Just in a way to fill this treble 20 up here. She can't do it this occasion. Lisa Ashton will come back at the 96, and you sort of feel every time she comes to the board for a finish.
57.
See Henry take a look at his notepad.
96.
There's more scribbles than you could care to imagine. Treble 20 would have given her a dart at double 8.
56.
Moves along now
95.
to 16 to leave tops. Justin Smith wants 95. Goes the bullseye route. 20 for the bull. 4-2-0. But again, the way the first dart stood up, I think the flight may have obscured some of the target.
40.
And so Lisa Ashton returns for tops. It would end Justin Smith's hopes of automatically qualifying. It does end Justin Smith's hopes of absolutely qualifying automatically through Group 1. He now has to win all 3 legs to go through the ultimate darting lottery. The penalty shootout of darts. The 9-dart eliminator.
You can literally just cross out every equation now. It's all or nothing for Justin Smith. Lisa Ashton takes one more leg. We know who goes through. They'll then be playing for positioning, playing for group winner, playing for the group runner-up. The winner of the group will have the darts in the semi-final, so it's a big advantage.
180.
So hold on, I've used up a whole notebook for nothing now.
Scribble it all out. It's all done. It's easy from here.
60.
It's just winning and losing legs. Only one possible outcome.
60.
But Justin Smith, he's got to go all in. Has to go all in from here. If you look at the averages, Justin Smith's averaging a shade under 88.
80. Justin, you've got 161.
As you can see, a 16-point gap in the averages. 2 180s for the Bearded Dragon has helped in bringing that average up. Because if you look away from the maximum throws, Lisa Ashton's had more 140s. Justin Smith yet to register one in this match. But he's got the luxury of time in this particular leg, leaving 71 after 12.
51.
I think the big interesting thing here for Justin Smith is he only needs to find one break. Looking good here for holding his throw.
100. Justin,
wants double 10. That's 6 darts. If he needs them. He doesn't need them. Justin Smith takes it out with the last dart in hand. Had a bit of a cushion in that one. We'll be hoping for a bit of a cushion in this one. This, you feel, is the leg. Lisa Ashton has the darts. If she takes this leg, Justin Smith will be out.
Timing. Sheer timing from the Lancashire Rose. The sort of timing that only a 4-time world champion has. And there could be more.
100.
And if she hit another 3 treble 20s, we would have been on the verge of darting history. No female players ever hit a stream 9-dart finish.
60.
It would have been history at the Super Series.
This is class from Lisa Ashton.
100.
Class, the best word to describe this. She wasn't performing. And when it gets to that point where we said this is the leg, it's time to go.
Lisa, 121.
She started going. 180. 100. 100.
103.
Nearly the 1-2-1 finish to wrap it up, but she will come back. Justin Smith a long way back. You sort of feel this is the end of the road for Justin Smith.
60. Lisa, require 80.
And so double 9 to seal her progression through. Decided to split. Double 8. And Lisa Ashton qualifies for the semi-finals here at the Super Series. Justin Smith has been eliminated from the competition. But he has to continue to the end of this match, try and pick up the 2 points and salvage some darting pride.
100.
And how difficult is this situation, knowing that you put all your energies in winning by a certain scoreline, it doesn't happen, you probably fall flat as a consequence, but you still got to try and continue to the end.
It's going to be tricky, but Martin Thomas will be in the practice room right now, getting back onto the board. He will also be going through to the semi-final, so he needs to get ready for that. There's still a bonus to play for. That bonus is the advantage of throw. We've seen it come into play so much in a short format, you really do want to be going first. The group winner will be throwing first in the semi-final. That's the group winner for both. A little bonus 60 there for topping the group.
Well, because the scoreline at worst will end 4-2, Lisa Ashton has now won the group. The only way that Lisa Ashton couldn't win this group was a 4-0 victory for Justin Smith. So Ashton will go through top, Thomas in second. And so Justin Smith, it's about darting pride. Leaves himself an 86 after 15. He's had a good week here, qualifying for the finals. But on Saturday night,
105
hasn't quite got going.
Require 86.
In the vein that we know he can do so well. Another one of them. The treble 18 leaves double 7. And that's class on Justin Smith. It's a tough scenario to play in when you know that your hopes have been extinguished. He leads 3-2. He may not win the war, but he can win the battle against Lisa Ashton.
140.
We'll just give him a little bit of something to take. He has lost to Lisa Ashton 3 times already this week.
140.
We'll want to make that a quad. Lisa Ashton
60.
Again. Kicking up well on a throw.
$45.
Again, Justin Smith in the low 80s against Lisa Ashton. Said that sometimes there's players you like playing. He's not going to like playing Lisa Ashton as she finds her second 180 of this match. And again, it's with the throw. Get 180 with a throw, it gives you a good cushion, as you can see reflected on the score. 1-2-1 for Lisa Ashton, 100 ahead.
38.
And we'll come back with Smith all the way back on 2-2-3.
96.
And he's just getting a little bit frustrated out there. He knows that his race is won. And I can imagine all the emotions are
58.
boiling up for the bearded dragon.
Justin, you require 127.
But he can win the game of 127.
And game. It won't be and game. Pitch it into the 5. That means he can no longer finish. The best he can do is tee this up. Hope that the 4-time world champion doesn't take out the 25.
Double 8.
Game
and we will go to a deciding leg here at the end of the Group 1 campaign. No matter what happens following the conclusion of this leg, Lisa Ashton will win the group and play in the first semi-final. We will bid farewell to Justin Smith and wish him well on his darting travels. For him,
140.
He'd like to give us a fitting send-off following his excellent efforts over the last 6 days. Lisa Ashton will be looking to play herself into as much form as possible ahead of the semi-finals. She will be first on following the conclusion of Game 6.
50.
Just thought after I said that last line there, it says, you stand back and hope that the 4-time world champion doesn't take out 25. It doesn't leave you with much hope.
That's like saying you're batter up against Shane Warne and you hope that he's going to bowl a slow one. Although talking about 127 in games, you had a 127 in game
70
at the old venue with Paul Hinks refereeing.
I was praying that he called it, but he didn't. He let me down.
Say the line, Paul. Say the line.
This is straight up the line.
92.
For Justin Smith. Straight up that vertical line. 120. Needs one of each. That's the single. That's the treble. And that's the doubles. Justin Smith can't go through, but he does end his week with a victory. His first victory over Lisa Ashton this week. It's an 82.79 average for Justin Smith, but the big story there is Lisa Ashton goes through as group winner. Martin Thomas will join her in the semi-finals as we look forward to the conclusion of Group 2. Dan Reed and Graham Usher up next.
Welcome back to the finals night of the MODUS Super Series. Well, Justin Smith gets the win over Lisa Ashton, but it's not by a big enough margin. Let's have a quick look at the stats. And as you can see, 4 180s in the match, 2 apiece, 6 180s in the match, 3 apiece. But Justin Smith just getting over the line, 4-3. So it is Martin Thomas and Lisa Ashton into the semi-finals from Group 1. Up next, our final match from Group 2, and it is Dan Reed against Graham Usher. 8 previous meetings between these two in the Super Series, 4 apiece. Now, Dan Reed has to win 4-0 or 4-1 to progress into the semis, and in the 4 wins he's had against Graham Usher, it's only been the best 4-2. Right, let's hand over to our comms team of Matt Edgar and Henry Deacon and our referee, Owen Binks.
Thank you very much, Chris. The final game of the group stages here on finals night at the Super Series in week 7. And this is the scenario in Group 2. Any victory for Graham Usher and he will qualify. He will go through top of the table. David Pallett in second. Pallett's through no matter what. So after that, it'll be positionings for Dan Reed or Graham Usher. A Reed 4-0, 4-1 victory. You'll see David Pallett top the group and Dan Reed finish second.
Ladies and gentlemen,
a 4-2 victory for Dan Reed. We'll see David Pallett still top the group, but it'll be Graham Usher joining him in the semi-finals. A 4-3 victory for Reed. We'll see Usher top the pile from David Pallett. So a much simpler equation compared to Group 1, but still, Matt Egger, plenty of variables at stake.
We wouldn't have it any other way, would we, this week?
85.
And then after this game, it's very straightforward in the semi-finals.
Just becomes knockout darts from that point, doesn't it? Just simply win and you're through.
Well, let's have a quick recap then of what we have seen this evening. So Lisa Ashton and Martin Thomas go through. Lisa Ashton topped the group, so she will have the advantage of throw in the first semi-final. That's why it's so crucial to top the group, because the players who do top it will have the throw first in the semi-finals. But based on what you've seen this evening, of course, we're going to see the finalisation of the field for the semi-finals. But who do you fancy going forward to potentially win the whole lot?
It's getting a bit tricky, isn't it? It's getting a bit tense. There's no one who's really standing out as an out-and-out front runner here. Bookies think it's David Pallett. We at the start of the show fancied Graham Usher. Martin Thomas, been impressive this week, and he did warm to the task in that last one. I think I'd probably be in the Martin Thomas camp at the minute.
And Martin Thomas in the second game compared to the first looked as if he settled much more on the stage with the crowd. Now for Dan Reed in this one against Graham Usher, does he look at what Martin Thomas did in his second match and try and draw upon that? Now, he's had that game on the stage, in front of the audience, in front of the crowd. And, of course, he's got that scenario where he has to win and win big.
I think for Dan Reed, the alarming thing would be he has not played tonight to his weekly stats. They dropped. And we can look at why they dropped. And we can find many different reasons, but I think for me, one of the big things is that instant feedback of the crowd that we spoke about at the very start. Dan Reed's not experienced this before, and it'll be interesting to see how much of a factor that will be.
Although the fact that Dan Reed has a scenario where he has to win by a certain number of legs, can that actually help him in the fact that he's not thinking about the crowd? He has to think about the scenario in the game. So effectively, he's going to probably cancel out that by the worry of winning by a certain scoreline.
But is Dan Reed aware of that? That will be the interesting factor. How much does Dan Reed know? Has Dan Reed just gone back and thrown at the board and tried to get himself ready for this? Or does he actually know the maths and the stats and everything that he needs to do in this one?
If you were a player, what would you be doing in this situation? Would you just want to go out there and play with the freedom, just see what happens? Or would you want to know every forensic detail?
Absolutely not. The main thing you do is you want to go up there, and the main thing you need to do is win. And win as well as you do. Every time you go up there, you want to win 4-0, regardless. So there's no point in going up there thinking I just want a leg or I want 2 legs. You're going up there defensive. You need to go up there aggressive and try and get as many legs as you can, as quick as possible.
Indeed. Whilst we've got a little bit of time, let's reflect upon the week. First of all, it's been an absolute pleasure to share the commentary box with you. What's it been like swapping the darts for the microphone?
It's different. It gets hot on that
Not
stage.
too much different, though, for your mind.
It gets hot on the stage. It gets a bit edgy. Got a nice little air-conditioned room here.
Indeed, we do. And, of course, Matt will be back on Monday. Paul Nicholson's going to join us in the commentary booth, which is going to be an honour for the pair of us as the players return to the stage. Enjoyed that chat, Matt. We'll
80.
We should talk more in a commentary box.
Yeah, who needs the darts? I bet the viewing figures just went through the roof there. We should have a little sit-down show.
If only someone had a YouTube channel.
135.
That little unsettler might actually be more of a settler because it just allowed him a little bit more time on the stage. Get used to the surroundings. We said at the start, the difference between this is they don't go on stage and have 4 or 5 minutes while we put the production and everything together and we have our chat 60. And we make our predictions. While that's going on, the players are on stage having a throw and you get a good 18, 21 darts at times. In this scenario, he's just going up there 6 and it's game on.
26.
Bit more time on the stage there, while a little technical might have been a bit more of a help for Dan Reid.
58.
Well, he's first to a finish. Graham Usher back on 2:15, but he isn't for much longer.
Danny McCoy 68.
And there's almighty pressure on this 68 for Dan Reid. He has to get this.
28.
Because if Graham
35.
Usher breaks here, he would visit the last chance saloon. He is in the last chance saloon. Dan Reid has to win all 4 of the remaining legs to go through. He cannot drop one more. Otherwise, Graham Usher will progress alongside David Pallett. He has to be perfect from here.
Graham Usher is the biggest 180 hitter of the week. He has played more matches, though, remember. We're looking at ratio, that would be Martin Thomas, but he's the biggest 180 hitter, but that might be the biggest one he's hit of the week.
81.
Indeed, that was pressure darts at a pressure time, and it caused the mistake from Dan Reid. And if you look at Graham Usher's stats of the week, out of the 6 players that progressed through to finals night, they stand out. A 93.8 group average in Group B. He's hit 26 maximums before tonight's action, 8-ton-plus finishes, and a 46% checkout ratios in that Group B. And at 7-2, when we had a look at the odds before we went on there this evening, we thought that represented great value.
Is it 26 before tonight?
140.
He won in his opening game against David Pallett, and he's hit 1 in that one. So that's moving into 28 for the week. That's a good return on the maximums.
60. Dan
Reid's in a spot of bother here. 20 for tops.
100.
Will return.
He's going to have to hit the lot, you think, and then hope. But he's given himself a smidgen of hope. 555.
15.
And like in the last leg, has the maximum force the ever. Huge dart at tops, and he's up to the task, and that's his class from Dan Reid. When his back was well and truly against the wall, when it looked like he was going to be eliminated, Dan Reid finds a combination of a maximum and an 82 finish to keep his hopes alive, to keep himself in with a chance of progression. He still has to win 3 more consecutively to progress, but it looked as if his night was over before he felt it began.
After that first leg, Dan Reid was probably thinking, why is everything timing against me incorrectly tonight? David Pallett
78.
In the opening game hit that 180 to leave the 888. Then he opened with a 180 in the last leg. And then when Graham Usher did exactly the same thing to him in that opening leg, be easy to start cursing your luck. Returns the favour there with a well-timed 180.
140.
Second of the night.
I don't know about you, but I think temperament is one of Dan Reid's best traits.
95.
And suddenly moments like that can change everything. And the crowd's in tonight. He's got something to react to. He can be reactive. He can have a look at his friends and family that are in the crowd. That can G him on.
Graham Usher.
140.
Been what you just said there, reactive. Been reactive all week. Someone plays well against him, he often plays well himself. Dan Reed has been finding these all week.
70.
The most tumpless finishes of
Graham
anyone this week.
32.
Wasn't able to take that one.
Game
And
shot
could
third
and
leg.
does
Graham
get his
Usher.
throw broken. Graham Usher. 2-1 lead now against Dan Reed. That is a 13 dart breaker throw. And
Fourth leg, it's Graham to throw
Problems.
first. Game on.
Well, that is all she wrote.
140.
That is the end of the road for Dan Reed. So what we are playing for now is positions. Any win for Graham Usher, he tops the group from David Pallett.
84.
If Dan Reed can win 3 in a row, David Pallett would
97.
top the group. Graham Usher would finish second. If it goes all the way and Dan Reed is a victor, well, if it goes all the way, no matter what the scenario, Graham Usher tops the group from David Pallett. So there is still some things to
45.
organise, still some I's to dot, some I's to dot and T's to cross.
140.
And instantly when we look at the players that have gone through, it reminds me to that chat we had earlier on with young Mackenzie, who told us the winner was going to be Lisa Ashton or Graham Usher. Well, they've both just got out of their groups.
Game shot the fourth.
And that is
Graham
stupendous
Usher.
from Graham Usher. That's a 1-2-4. That season one away. He's averaging just under a ton.
Fifth leg, it's Dan to throw first. Game on.
And when you want to peak at the right time, Graham Usher may well be doing just that. The timing in that last leg as well is telling. 140, left him on the 1-2-4, gets the 1-2-4 for a 12-dart leg. And this is where you want to make the charge. Right here, right now. Putting in statements when we get towards the semi-finals. When it's knockout darts.
140.
When the big cash is on the line. £5,000 for the winner of the week.
120.
That's unlucky, but with more darts like the first two, Graham Usher, who was tipped at 7-2, could well be the man to pick up the check.
60. 135.
Graham Usher's average just continues to climb. 104 as we get into the business end of this one.
138, Graham. You're
Good shot for Dan Reed, but there's nothing you can do to stop Graham Usher. Can still go. Needs to switch down to the 17s. Finds the 17s.
Game shot
and it's game over. 12-dart leg for Graham Usher. An absolutely rock-solid performance. Graham Usher taking the victory 4-1, 104 the average. We asked, has anyone set out a marker yet? Who is standing out? We now know. Graham Usher is the standout performer, 104 the average, 124 the highest checkout, 50% on the doubles. And that sets up some interesting semi-finals.
Indeed, and this is the lineup for our Fab Four in the semi-finals here at the Super Series. Lisa Ashton will take on David Pallett. That's our first semi-final, followed by Graham Usher up against Martin Thomas. We're going to take a short break. I'm going to run up to the balcony and have a chat with Chris Mason, and then we're going to see the battle between the Lancashire Rose and David Pallett. We'll see you shortly.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series. It's finals night. Up next, it's semi-finals time. Well, we've just seen Graham Usher progress, and in some style. Let's have a look at the stats. And it was, Henry, some performance.
Well, we say with this competition, it's a bit of a marathon, but when it gets to Saturday night, it's a bit more of a sprint. It's kind of get to the 25th mile of that London Marathon, and you want to hit for home right now, and that's exactly what Graham Usher's doing, a brilliant average. And as we said, someone has to set their stall out in these group stages to say, I am the player to beat come the semi-finals and final, the knockout stages. Graham Usher may have just done that.
Yeah, it was some statement of intent. So our semi-final lineup is Lisa Ashton against David Pallett. They've met twice previously in this environment, and David Pallett has won both. Semi-final number 2, Graham Usher against Martin Thomas. First meeting between the two. Do you think that has any bearing on what may be the outcome?
Possibly not, just because of what this occasion is. It's to get through to a final in front of a crowd. There's big money at stake here, the possibility of qualifying for Champions League. I think the magnitude of the game, I don't think will affect the fact that these two have never played each other before.
Yeah, and of course, one of these players may be picking up a career high payday if they win this evening and go on to win Champions of Champions. Well, he's going to knit down with Matt in a moment. I think our referee and MC Owen Binks is ready. Let's get the players on stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the MODUS Live Lounge for the MODUS Super Series. It's time to introduce the semi-finalists. Firstly, would you please welcome the Lancashire Rose, Lisa Ashton and David Pallett.
6 days of dart in action to find our semi-finalists as we get into the business end now of this phase of the Super Series. Everyone's been on stage now. Everyone's had a couple of games. Everyone's won a game. Everyone's lost a game. No one's been perfect until now. Lisa Ashton kicked off a night with a 4-1 victory over Martin Thomas. Followed that with a 4-3 defeat to Justin Smith, but that was enough for her to win her group. David Pallett played extremely well in that game against Graham Usher. Just came up a little bit short. 94 average with 3 180s, but then seeing off Dan Reed 4 legs to 1. So this tees this up with more questions than I've got answers for at the moment. So it's over to the players for the answers. Placing the final up for grabs, £5,000.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First leg, it's Lisa to throw first. Game on.
Indeed, and as you mentioned, you look at every single facet of this game and you could make an argument for both 60. In each and every department. That's what makes this first semi-final so interesting. But from here on in, it's something that we haven't seen because of the group phase format. It is win or you go home.
56.
It is knockout darts, semi-finals, then straight to the final. There's no third, fourth place playoffs now here at the Super Series. There's 60. Only the champions progress through the Champions Week, which takes place towards the middle to latter stages of October. David Pallett, who we have seen accustomed to that switch to the Triple 18s, does so again with some success. Success is something that he knows 60. All too well against the Lancashire Rose.
Key to point out that even though we've entered the semi-finals, the format stays the same. It's the best of 7. First to 4. Place in the final. Lisa Ashton thrown first. If it gets to 3-3, she will be thrown first. There'll be no bull up. Just all 55. The way through.
Remember, for David Pallett, this is the second time he's made it through to the semi-finals in this phase. He was involved in week 1 where He was runner-up to Robert Owen, was given a second opportunity to come back and try and claim a place in Champions Week. So he's in his last chance saloon into the semi-finals, and he'll be hoping to
97.
Go one better than his previous attempt here.
Sort of feel it's a well-justified second chance for David Pallett. Winning tournaments left, right and centre outside of the Super Series.
56.
Beating not only some of the best players in the world, but arguably the best player in the world, beating Peter Wright recently at 107 average on the PDC Pro Tour.
151.
He's being arguably the best male player in the world. He's up against one of the best female players in the world.
93. Lisa require 114.
Lisa Ashton here is looking for a holder throw with a 114. It's been quite a subdued
58.
Opening leg to this
David,
one.
you require 58.
Both players know exactly what's at stake. Pallett wants tops. Double 10.
Game shot in the first.
And in it goes. It's a breaker throw for David Pallett. He gets the opening chalk on the board. He leads Lisa Ashton by a leg to 0.
Second leg, it's David to throw first.
Sort of felt, although that first start was a long way off tops, it was more of a friend for David Pallett. We mentioned earlier about his incredible stats on the double
60.
10. Coming into tonight, 11 darts he'd thrown at the double 10 and managed to get 8 successful hits. That's a 72% hit rate on that double 10, and he's continued that tonight. If anything, I dare say he's improved on that stat.
Indeed. Well, we said that the winner will qualify for Champions Week. Let's inform you on who the Week 7 champion will join. Robert Owen was the winner of Week 1. We mentioned that a moment ago. Beat David Pallett in the final. Chaz Barstow came through Week 2. Graham Hall, the winner of Week 3. Dal Pilgrim in Week 4. Lee Evans was the last ever weekly winner in the Old Room in Southampton in Week 5. And then on launch night last Saturday here at the Super Series, it was Kieran Tian who picked up the big prize, beating Stephen Burton in the final.
Got all the ingredients that you need for a quality week of darts.
£20,000 will go to the winner of Champions Week at the end of Week 13.
34.
Lucky for someone.
112 for David Pallett.
140.
Confirm that breaker throw. Move himself halfway to the final. He'd use the 18s to leave himself on tops. So he feels comfortable in that section of the board.
Require 164.
6-4 for Lisa. It's a bit of a chance, but that chance soon went.
60. David, you require 56.
For a 2-0 lead. Tops. Double 10. He loves it here. Statistically, his best double on the board, and that is why. And David Pallett, who lost out in the final in Week 1 of this phase, is halfway towards returning to the finale, to the last game of the week, where he'll hope to go one better and use his second chance to qualify for Champions Week.
Sort of just feel he's never going to miss that double 10. As soon as it came low, I was pointing at it, I was nodding along. It was expected that he hit it. Lisa Ashton has not got going in this one.
45.
Average drops to a 67. Only one score over the ton. Not got that scoring power going yet, and time is ticking. There is not a lot of time to recover this situation. She has lost the advantage of throw in the first 6 scoring darts in this one.
57.
Pallett can really drive home that advantage now for a double break. Give himself 4 opportunities to get himself through to the final. He's using the darts well.
100.
He's beginning to race away with this match. Lisa Ashton will need to find something inspired from here. Darts like that will most certainly help the Lancashire Rose. But Pallett returns to 138. Well, he likes treble 18. Does he like double 12?
140.
Not on this occasion, but he is going to return. So if you're going to miss on the outside wire, because at least then you can return for double 12 and not mess about on double 6. He might not want to mess about any longer, because Lisa Ashton is on double 10. The pressure 180. Has forced the hand of David Pallett.
Lisa required 20.
And one thing we've been praising Lisa Ashton about is her timing.
Game shot on the
and she's timed that to perfection. And she stays in the game at 2-1. A crucial couple of visits there from Lisa Ashton.
Fourth leg, it's David to throw
world
first.
champions do. They find a way. Found a way there. This is her back into the game. That was only a holder throw for Lisa Ashton. She's going to need to find something against the throw. She's going to need to keep that scoring power going.
81.
Feel at the moment it's more about David Pallett and what David Pallett's doing.
100.
He keeps finding a treble with each visit. Solid darts on the throw.
100.
Well, I don't know if Lisa Ashton's a Coldplay fan or not, but she's found that higher power at this present moment in time.
$57.
David Pallett is obviously the bookie's favourite for this
58
evening. I think that comes down to his stats coming into this. He's played 87 league matches coming into tonight. 154 of those. That's the highest win percentage of anybody on finals night. 62% of his matches in this format have gone his way.
Managers of Chelsea get sacked for those sorts of figures.
34.
But as you mentioned, a superb win percentage for David Pallett. In Group B, his average throughout the course of the group was 88 and was 38% on the doubles. That's how he qualified here. And that was only by
100.
Gaining third position. Well, Lisa Ashton looked out of this game about 2 minutes ago towards the latter stages of the previous leg. She looked as if she was going to go 3-0 down, but she found an inspired spell. She finds herself on double 18. She'll get a go for 2-2 if the 90 doesn't go. Double 15, which is next door to his favourite double 10. But the way that dart stands up, he's got to pick one side or the other. He picked the bottom corner. He finds the bottom corner. And David Pallett is one leg away from a date with destiny.
Fifth leg, it's Lisa to throw first. Game on.
7 weeks on from losing the final, he may return to the final. Lisa Ashton has to win every leg from here, and that is a good start on throw.
He does only need to get one break of throw as well. By winning the group, it gave her the advantage of throwing first in this match.
57.
I mean, she'll have the throw in this leg and the last leg if it goes that far.
100.
He normally produces something when she's under it. He's doing so again here.
42.
I've seen the good, bad and ugly from David Pallett. It's about when he times.
60.
When you look at the scoring phases of the match, as we see on our screen in the commentary box, David Pallett's had 8-ton-plus throws, no 140s, no 180s. So he's winning these legs.
58.
And granted, of course, he switches to treble 18 a lot, so there's a lot of 128s and shots like that in the mix. But it's been
50.
Those one treble visits which he's got on a more consistent basis than Lisa, which is the reason why he's 3-1 up in this game. But that may not be for much longer.
66.
The other key stat to
Lisa
look
for
at is those checkouts.
151.
Lisa's only managed to muster at 1 dart at the double. She did take it first dart. David Pallett, 10 darts he's managed to throw at the double, which does say, even though he's not doing the power scoring, he's still outscoring what his opponent is by quite some distance.
86. Lisa for 192.
You don't have to be the best all the time, you just have to be better than what you're against.
60.
She will return for the 32. David Pallett back on 192. He's going to need more than the 3 darts he's got in his hand. Looking to tee up the 100.
56. Lisa requires
Lisa Ashton,
32.
this is for a holder throw. Getting a bit desperate.
8. David requires 136.
Pallett, a mini chance to wrap this up.
For the final. And it would have been some way to do so. So Lisa Ashton's going to return for double 12.
87.
He's missed the big
Lisa
number,
required
so he may
24.
have to spurn a dart double if he returns. But Ashton here, double 12 to bring it back to 3-2. And she makes no mistake this time. But David Pallett is in the position now where if he holds throw in this leg, he qualifies for the final. He will be one of the last 2 remaining riders in the race to qualify for Champions Week here in week 7. And the way the first 2 darts stood up, he had to score a ton following the conclusion of that visit.
140.
Been winning titles all around Europe for the past couple of months, David Pallett. He's going to be feeling confident. He's going to be feeling good vibes up there. When you're winning, these situations, you don't tend to feel the pressure as much as when you're not in them as often.
Is that the YouTuber talk there? Good vibes and all of that stuff.
Getting the good vibrations. Got a good lead in this one, actually. 50 points, and Lisa Ashton a bit awkward on the 313.
92.
Bogeyed himself there, David Pallett. Didn't think that one through, but that 313 we say is awkward for that reason. The 2 treble 20s still leave you without a finish and still offer David Pallett 6 darts at the 169. He's making big inroads too. Very big inroads.
129.
And tees up that tops to put himself through to the final.
He's on the brink, is David Pallett.
98.
For a place
40.
in the final. Double 10. And David Pallett will get a second go at qualifying for Champions Week. For the second time in this series, he makes the final of finals night. In week 1, he lost out to Robert Owen. He returns in week 7, and he is going to take on the winner of semi-final number 2 between Graham Usher and Martin Thomas. These 2 have never met before. Their first meeting is for a place in the final here at the Super Series, and that's coming up after this short break.
So it's David Pallett who takes his spot in tonight's final. Let's have a quick look at those stats. Well, as you can see, not the highest averages in the world, but it was just about enough for David Pallett, coming through 4-2 with an 82-57, 11 scores of a ton or more to Lisa's 9. So it is David into the final. Who will he face? He faces Graham Usher, who made some statement last time out with that terrific 104 average, but Martin Thomas has just been going under the radar. They make Graham Usher the 4-7 favourite, and Martin Thomas is 5-4. Are we going to get a Pallett Thomas or a Pallett Usher final? Well, our commentators are ready, Matt Edgar and Henry Deacon, and our referee and MC is ready, Owen Binks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the MODUS Live Lounge for the MODUS Super Series. It's time to introduce the semi-finalists. Firstly, please welcome the gambler, Graham Usher, and Tomo, Martin Thomas.
To join David Pallett in the final here in week 7 at the MODUS Super Series. Graham Usher, the gambler, who put down a real statement with that 105 average in the 4-1 victory against Dan Reed to conclude the group action early this evening, takes on Martin Thomas, who won through or got through via Group A, finishing second. Graham Usher, the winner of Group 2 this evening's finals night. Matt Edgar, we always wonder in these situations who's going to put down a marker early on going into the latter stages of tonight. It was fair to say in the last game, Graham Usher did exactly that. For him now, it's all about backing it up.
He threatened to do it in the opening game as well against David Pallett. Raced into a 3-0 lead, but then just sort of stumbled over the line. Came out in the next game against Dan Reed and kept it going all the way through. There we say it at the moment is...
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Winner.
First leg, it's Graham to throw first. Game on.
And of course, Graham Usher, as the winner of Group 2, has the honours. He won the opportunity to throw first in the second semi-final. Now, whoever wins this will have a about 10-minute break, give or take.
94.
In that period, backstage, the players will throw for the bullseye. It's the first time all week that they will do that to determine who throws first in the final.
It's interesting because I actually was on a week with Graham Usher not many weeks ago.
45.
Was in the same situation. I was playing in this slot now, and Graham Usher had already played in the early one. Graham Usher was through to the final.
100.
Come back into the practice room, and Graham Usher's actually laid on the floor. First time going into practice room, you see your opponent looking up at the lights.
180.
Good darts left. Martin Thomas gets his first 180 of the match. He is the most likely, according to the stats, to hit some 180s. 17 180s he hit in his group, and that's just in 10 matches.
He adds to the tally there. He'd be hoping to add to the leg tally for the week, and it would be with a breaker throw, but Usher back on 216, a 2-treble visit.
140.
Changes the complexion of the leg.
17.
Because you fancy Usher to get a dart at double, so this 117 may have to go. One dart at tops. For a breaker throw in the opening leg.
77. Brand new requires 76.
Thought this would be good, and it's a very good start. It's not a good start to this combination. He can still do that, but he does need a treble. He'll probably be looking at treble 13. Proves me wrong. He goes for the 17s. Misses that one as well, though,
36.
giving Martin Thomas
Martin, you require 40.
opportunity to come back at tops. 3 darts in hand. Down to the 10s. Nearly at the 15s.
30. Graham, you
It's a
require
bit back
40.
and forwards. It's a bit to and throw.
Game
Who's
shot the
Graham
first
Usher?
leg.
Who
Graham
seals
Usher.
the leg. It's a holder throw for Graham Usher. But a bit of trouble there on the outer ring for both.
Second leg, it's Martin to throw first.
1 from 2 for Usher. None from 4 for Martin Thomas, who in the scoring phase of that opening leg held the
140.
ascendancy. But you know how deadly Graham Usher is around the doubles bed and took full
100.
advantage, but it was only a hold for Graham Usher. It would have felt like a break.
140.
And to break Thomas in this leg, he's going to have to find some big scores, because Thomas has brought the average up now to about 96. As I say, the scoring phase of this match for the Welshman, you cannot fault.
140.
That's his third 140, and we're only coming towards the end of the second leg.
140.
But he's going to be under pressure from Usher. 81 he wants. That's a bit of a disaster dart. 1 at double 12 sees him level. And he recovers the situation well there, does Martin Thomas. It's not a mistake if you rectify it, and that was exactly what he did there. And we are level at 1 apiece. And at this present moment in time, you cannot prize these two apart.
Sort of feel that wasn't just rectifying that situation. That was rectifying the situation he caused himself in the opening game. He did exactly the same. Was missing big numbers, missing those setup shots. Quite easy to have felt like he's gone down that same road again, but recovers it well with the treble 18.
80.
At this present moment in time, the bookmakers have Graham Usher 4-9, Martin Thomas 13-8 to get through this second semi-final.
121.
Sort of feel the scoring power that Martin Thomas is showing here. He's going to get an opportunity somewhere along the way. Won't be many chances. Obviously only a race to 4.
96.
We've already took one of those legs off.
140.
Not going to give him many opportunities.
Thomas just stepping back there to recompose
98.
himself. A little bit of a fumble in the crowd. He won't make it in the slips at the test match at the Oval tomorrow.
82. Martin, you require 100.
And he'll want to recompose himself because he's got a break opportunity here. Tops, or does he like the lie of the first dart? No, decided to go tops. You thought the sensible play there. Well,
60.
Case in point, the sensible play there was to go for the treble 20. And that could have been the shot that burns Martin Thomas, because he would have got the break of 4. He would have been fine for a 3-1 lead, which would have put him 1 away from the final. But as we have it, Graham Usher is now halfway towards the Week 7 final.
I was extremely surprised by that play. I'm very impressed with Martin Thomas these last couple of days. I really bigged him up when that dart goes in the bottom of the bed or just underneath, and it was sat perfectly just to plonk on top, as he did with dart 3. Extremely surprised he decided to come away and try and lay up on tops.
100.
But then again, I know I'm not a professional darts player, far from it, but he's missed the tops with the first dart, but then he's gone back down with the second dart. Well, if you trust yourself to hit the treble with the second dart, why don't you go for it with the first? I
think it was
81.
Heat of the moment decision there. A lot of times players play how they feel. We saw that a lot this week, especially with
100.
Alan Tabern, case in example, where statistically he was so much better on the 16s, but was often leaving tops or even the 18s.
99.
Sometimes things just feel right.
100.
Quality encounter this. Graham Usher averaging 95. Martin Thomas a shade under 94.5. Usher's presenting himself with a break opportunity
60.
here.
Graham, it requires 78.
78 for a 3-1 lead, which would give him the darts for the
On the
match.
fourth leg. Graham Usher.
And the gambler is playing the right cards at the right time. And he's one leg away from the final.
It's Graham to throw first.
From a date with David
Game
Pallett for £5,000. And crucially, importantly, a place
100.
in Champions Week in week 13. That's where every player wants to be. That's the part of the ball most players want to be. A good 140 for Martin Thomas.
I feel like we could have some bonus content on what you just said there. A date with David Pallett. Get your applications in for that one.
Some candles and red wine.
81.
Vinders. Get James Richardson involved as well.
Well, he is here tonight.
140.
I can't believe he hasn't given us some takeaway vindaloos to have in the commentary box.
Can't say I'm disappointed.
The Colmer man sitting on the fence next to me.
180. Graham,
No,
121.
sitting on the fence about that, and that may have had to have been hit. He may not get a go. Because Graham Usher has a darted ball, gets the ball, and the gambler will play in the final of week 7 here at the Super Series. He has been one of the standout performers, and he will take on David Pallett for the £5,000 top prize and a place at Champions Week. Let's have a quick check of the stats. Backing up the 105 average from the victory against Dan Reed, he averages 100.73. Look at that, 7 140 plus visits, a checkout percentage of 66.67%, and to win the game with a 1-2-1 checkout. Graham Usher is through to the final here at the Super Series. He takes on David Pallett, who got the better of Lisa Ashton by 4 legs to 2 in the opening semi-final here at finals night in the Super Series. And so one more game remains in week 7 for £5,000, and a place at Champions Week is David Pallett against Graham Usher, and that's coming up next.
Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series on finals night, and up next it is final time. What a performance that was, Henry, from Graham Usher, backing up that 104 average to qualify into the final.
Exactly. We said statement the first performance, the second one is a declaration. David Pallett in that final is going to have to play well to beat Graham Usher. We said peaking at the right time, he's doing exactly that. It looks as if he's making a run towards the line, perhaps a run towards Champions Week.
Yes, those stats did make interesting reading, and the overall stats for tonight make interesting reading because there's a massive gap between the two, Henry, and we just can't ignore those kind of stats. Also, they have met 3 times in this format, Usher winning all 3 of them.
Which sounds like we're completely writing David Pallett off. But the weird thing about finals is anything can happen. You know, one scrappy leg that goes David Pallett's way, it can completely change everything. But it'd be interesting to see what the bookies make of the final odds when they were compiled, because I think Graham Usher goes in as a heavy favourite. I think the other thing as well for David Pallett is it's his second go at the final. He lost in week 1 to Robert Owen, so he's got another date with Destiny. That can go either one or two ways. It fires yourself up because you know it's your last chance no matter what, or you can feel the tension because you've been here before and you came out the wrong side.
Yeah, absolutely. And we both know both players have seriously high ceilings. I'm hoping that both of them bring those high ceilings to the final, because if they do, we could be in for an absolute cracker. Certainly the best final we have had under this roof. Absolutely,
and I think one can fire the other one up, one can feed off the other. Both play at nice pace. Obviously, Graham, possibly the fastest player we've got in this group. David Pallett is not a slouch by any stretch of the imagination, so it's going to be played at a good pace, played in a good spirit. These two obviously have met each other this week as well at the Super Series, so they're well acquainted. So you just hope that those variables come together and we get a fitting final to what has been a good week here in Portsmouth.
Yeah, it's been a good night, a really nice crowd in, a very knowledgeable crowd. We've had the kids from the local academy in who've enjoyed it all, but I'm pretty sure most of them were tucked up in bed right now. Well, Henry's going to knit down with Matt, but let's get the players on stage with Owen Binks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the MODUS Live Lounge for the MODUS Super Series. It's time to introduce the finalists. Firstly, would you please welcome David Pallett and the gambler, Graham Usher.
Three groups produce 6 players. 6 players have been dwindled down to 2. But the big number is 5. £5,000 on the line to the winner of this game. Placing Champions Week. David Pallett beat Lisa Ashton 4-2 in the semi-finals. Graham Usher, 4-1 victory over Martin Thomas, has clearly been the standout performer of the evening so far. Twice averaging over 100, and that inspired performance against David Pallett earlier when the two met. The 4-2 victory for Graham Usher. Chris Mason letting us know that David Pallett has never beaten Graham Usher in this format, but everything changes when you're playing in a final.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. First leg, it's David to throw first.
Indeed it does.
Game on.
4 legs separates one man from Champions Week. 4 legs separate one man from £5,000. For David Pallett, it's the second time he's reached the final here in this phase. He lost out to Robert Owen in week 1. For Graham Usher, a man who has progressed through the phases in the past, runner-up in a phase earlier on this year. He'll be looking to return to Champions Week. A man who finished 3rd at the Champion of Champions in July will be hoping to become the ultimate champion, the first ever Super Series champion in this current incarnation. But to do that, he has to get through tonight.
Just look at the Champion of Champions. You say he finished 3rd last time. It's obviously 2nd in there as well. So the last couple of Champion of Champions, we've seen him on the podium. The silver, he's got the bronze. Gets the gold this time. It'll be
60.
Biggest payday he's received in his life. £20,000 on the line in the Champions Week. Sort of just sense the mood has changed. It's all got a bit serious.
66.
Normally hear a couple of laughs and conversations coming out of the Players' Lounge.
60.
Silence.
And it was interesting walking past, coming down from the studio into the commentary booth. It's empty. Only 2 players left now. Only 2 people, one of 2 people can claim that spot at Champions Week. And David Pallett has left himself on tops to win the first leg, which would put him 3 away from that place. So, tops for an opening leg hold for David Pallett. Double 10. It's a friend again. And it doesn't seem as if he's going to miss that double anytime soon either. Every single time that he heads down to the den of double 10, he seems to find the answers.
Second leg, it's Graham to throw first. Game on.
It's felt like a certainty for him at the minute.
100.
Sort of felt if David Pallett was going to do this, one of 2 things needed to happen. Either Graham Usher needed to come down. David Pallett needed to improve.
94.
And right now, we're getting a bit of both.
140.
When Graham Usher gets in the groove, a very hard man to stop. Already posted 2 100-plus averages today. 100.73 in his victory over Martin Thomas. 104.17 in his 4-1 victory over Dan Reed. You sort of felt when these 2 met earlier, he's going to be well over the 100 mark after the first 3 legs, was running away with it.
In the lead up to tonight's final, there was only 1 ton-plus average for the entirety of the week. Graham Usher was the only player of the 6 who made the final, hit a ton-plus average this week. Of course, we had the blockbuster 108 from James Richardson. He's hit 2 more tonight. The form guide suggests that he's been the best player this week. But you have to win the final to qualify for Champions Week.
I mentioned about James Richardson loving darts.
60.
You see him sat in the back of the room. 68. Can still go. Looks at the 13th for tops.
28.
With David Pallett all the way back on 250. Graham Usher's throw is in no danger.
All he can do is pile the pressure on. He's going to move across here to the 18s, you feel.
42.
But Usher's going to return for tops to level us up at 1 apiece. Nice marker.
20.
But it drags just underneath. He's going to return for double 10. It'll be a darting irony if the double that David Pallett's been almost reliant on at times is hit by Graham Usher to level us up in the final.
92. Graham, you required 20.
Double 5.
Game shot on the second leg.
And Graham Usher is level at 1 apiece. It's been a tense opening to this game. Both know exactly what's on the line for the victor. And for David Pallett, he's already been in this situation before. And in that final, against Robert Owen in week 1, it went all the way to the deciding leg. He lost 4-3 to Robert Owen, so he's been close before.
100.
He was going to use that first dart. Just sat nicely for him on the top wire.
100.
Mentioned timing. At the moment, with the way this is going, we're sort of looking at a 9 darts worth of timing. It's going to give you that cushion. This could be the first part of it.
140.
Recovers the trebleless visit in the last one. Recovers the throw in the scoring phase.
59.
Puts himself back in the driving seat for this game before the off. These two was the bookie's favourite and second favourite. They've called that part right so far. If we take a look at those odds,
29.
if they've got that part right as well, then David Pallett would be a victor.
Yeah, David Pallett, before the night got underway, was 3-1 with the bookies to win the group. Graham Usher was 7-2 to get through. Usher's first two a finish against the darts, but Pallett can put that 102 under severe pressure. Staying upstairs, which leaves 37. So if he returns, we'd have to spurn a dart at double. He may not even get the opportunity. Double 16. That is class from Graham Usher. We talk about doing the right things at the right time. That was perfect from Graham Usher. A 102 finish to break the throw, and it puts him halfway towards Champions Week, and he has the throw to open up a 2-leg cushion.
Said 9 darts would do it. That was a 140 followed by a 102 finish.
100.
And a good opening there with the throw. That could have been your 9 darts that gave you your cushion. David Pallett now being asked questions. Graham Usher starting to warm to the task.
92.
Won his last match with a 1-2-1 finish. He's just picking up the pace.
100.
Faster on the eye now. The arm moving quicker. Again, Pallett switches to those 18s.
28.
A rare tactic, but working out very well for David Pallett.
100.
Said the other day, it's rare we see this, where a player comes down in tons. When you've got the throw, that's all you need to do. Treble a throw could see you out in 15 darts.
77.
And force Pallett into the 12. Something he can't do from 204 after 9.
100.
Feel like a 25 or the ball would have been a good play there for Graham Usher. Would have left him a 2-darter. Instead leaves the 101. Did take the 102 in the last leg.
He said someone just needed to up it a little bit. Graham Usher is here 3 tons consecutively, and now the 101 off the back of the 102 in the previous
41.
leg.
David, you require 112.
But this would be a body blow for the gambler if the 112 went. Size to go 18s. So 94 left. Treble 18 would have left tops.
40. Graham, you require 60.
60 for Usher. Tops it is.
Game shot
for
on the
3-1 lead. And Graham Usher is a leg away from Champions Week, from £5,000, and from crowning himself the Week 7 winner.
If it's David to throw first.
I think the alarming thing, if you're in the Pallett camp, is he's playing to par, really.
94.
This isn't a dip in performance from Pallett. This is what we've seen from him this evening.
100.
The worrying thing is, Graham Usher is quite low down, but just looking at the stats for this one, I think the key thing is those 13 ton-plus shots, those jabs, those landing blows.
140.
Average goes up to 85. It averaged 82.5 in these semi-final victory and an 87 in the group stage against Dan Reed. Usher's last 2 averages was of a ton and a 105.
Does have a good lead in this leg, though. 100 points plus what's in his hand.
50.
Graham could make it interesting. And that is the perfect time to hit your first 180 of the match. Halves his score.
But importantly, he's placed all heaps of pressure on the Pallett throw. has to get a treble with this dart.
60.
No doubt about it. Leads 157, but Usher can leave this handy. Incredibly handy. He's going to leave tops for the weekly glory.
David, you require 157.
157. To save his skin will not go. Graham Usher has had 6 perfect darts. 180, 140 to see himself left on tops.
Game shot out.
And Usher makes a rush to the finishing line. And he is the Week 7 champion at the Super Series. He's played his cards right and he's played his way into Champions Week. Let's have a look at the statistics from the final. He averaged 91.16, hit the solitary max of the match, 4th on 9 on the doubles, a high out of 102, which came at a crucial point in the match as well. He's £5,000 better off. He's going to return for the red carpet occasion in October. Congratulations to Graham Usher. He is the Week 7 champion here at the Super Series. My thanks goes to Matthew Edgar for his company over the last 6 days. We now head over to Chris Mason for the final thoughts and reflections as Graham Usher is our Week 7 champion.
Thank you very much, Matt and Henry. Sterling job by both and a sterling job by Graham Usher. We'll have another look at those stats as it did make some incredible reading, a 91.16 to get it done. Well, he finished the match off with a 13-darter. He had 13 scores of a ton or more and some tidy finishing, including that key 102 finish. And for the second time, unfortunately for David Pallett, he's failed to make the final. So it is Graham Usher who will join Robert Owen, Chaz Barstow, Graham Hall, Darryl Pilgrim, Lee Evans, and last week's winner, of course, Kieran Tehan. So next week is week 8. We got Adam Smith-Neal in action, Andy Hamilton and Kevin Painter, amongst other. But tonight it belongs to Graham Usher. We'll see you Monday morning.